What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to my new show. I call it On the Edge of Exploration. This new show is going to be all about going out paddling, adventure. I'm going to do a couple of how-tos. We do some extreme stuff like how we usually do on the Tri-Lordy channel, but we're going to do some different stuff as well. Alright, so this episode is going to be about Adventure Sup, and I'm going to be teaching y'all how to do your first Adventure Sup, how to plan everything. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so your first step in planning your first SUP adventure outing is going to be to find a location. But before I get into showing y'all how to find a location, I want to give you one word of advice. So, depending on what state you live in, what country you're in, there's different laws about going out on bodies of water. So, you may be required to have a sticker on your boat. I know for certain lakes, you have to have a sticker on kayaks if you're going to paddle on them. And you might also have to have a beacon as well. So you need to look into your state laws and your country laws about boating and going out, and because you know some areas are also protected, like Conisty or whatnot. But we're gonna get into that some other time, and just make sure you check that stuff out. All right, so I'm gonna show you how to use Google Earth, and that's the best way I found to find stuff to paddle. Okay, so this may look kind of weird because I'm just filming off the camera still. Now, one thing I'm going to get into before I start looking for a place is the first time you go out, you don't want to go to any white water, you don't want to do any downwinders, you don't want to do anything that requires you to park somewhere else. You need to go to a sheltered area, not any open lakes or anything like that. So I would prefer like a small sheltered pond or like a little small creek like where I'm going to take y'all. So okay, let me show y'all how to find it. Okay, so this is Piedmont, right around here. And the place that we're going to go to is off the Saluda, and we call it the Piedmont Yacht Club. Alright, and so the first thing we're going to look at is this off the main road. So we have a little put-in right here. Sometimes it's a little bit better to get in the road view and look at it. And kayak, and if y'all can't find anything on your own, kayak launch apps is another good place to go. But okay, so here's the put in. And it's really easy to get to. You just turn off the main road and get to it, so on and so forth. Alright, now let's take a better look at where we want to paddle at. And make sure it's a good, safe area for the first time you go out. Alright, so it's looking like this place is a good place just to go out and explore. And one thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure that if something was to go wrong, you can get out other ways. Like if you was to get stuck back off in here, and so I see there is another road. It follows the road the whole time, and it should cross this bridge up here somewhere. I must have passed it. Okay, but that's a good area to go up in this little creek right here. Or we could also go down the main river and explore out here right in front of the restaurant. So that's a good, safe location. It's by the road. There's probably going to be other people close by, so if anything was to go wrong, it'll be easy for us to get help. So alright, now that we found an area, let's see what gear we need. Alright, so now that we found the location, now we need to start thinking about our paddling attire. Anytime I'm going anywhere other than the ocean, I want a good hard sole shoe, because if I step on glass or something like that, I don't want it going through my foot. I don't paddle barefooted. So you want a good shoe. I prefer the Soft Science shoes. They're great paddling shoes. They're a good all-around water shoe. Alright, for our next item. Alright, the next two items are going to be your shirt and your shorts. I'm kind of just touching on this stuff because this video isn't for someone that's never paddled before. We're going to make another video for that. This is for the person that's got experience on the water. They've already logged hours on the water, been paddling for at least a couple of months before they try to go out and do a SUP adventure. So you're going to want a good active shirt. I like mid-sleeve because it keeps the bugs off of you this time of year, and we're going to be in the woods, so you never know what could happen. And I like the guide shorts made by Immersion. because they got the pockets, and so I bring extra knives with me if I needed to, because you never know what's going to happen out there. Alright, now let's start touching on the more interesting stuff, our safety gear. Alright, so this is the gear that, in my humble opinion, you have to have every time you go out on the water. You have to have a good quality leash, and I'm not going to go over different types of leashes in this video, but just know you got to have a leash anytime you're on the board, anytime you're in the water. Leashes save lives. Next piece of equipment, unless, like I said, you're at the beach, but life jacket. I'm going to come back to this one, but anytime you're out in the water, you should have a life jacket or some kind of personal flotation device, whether it be one of the air inflated ones or anything like that. Or whether you have one, you know, stashed away on top of your board. Preferably, you should have a life jacket and you should have it on. I don't go in the water anytime without one. This is more for whitewater, but I took it on this trip just because it's more of like a hat too. It keeps stuff off your head. But anytime you're in rocky conditions, you need a helmet, regardless of whether it's whitewater or whether it's flat water. And this one is kind of optional. This is a throw rope bag. Most stand-up boarders probably have no idea what this is. This is for self-rescue, or you could use it to rescue someone else. I always have one with me anytime I'm on the water, and I've had to use it before. Alright, now back on the life jacket. Let's take a little closer look at it. So on my life jacket, I like to have a watch so I can keep track of time. And I also don't go anywhere without a dive knife on my life jacket, because this is a flathead screwdriver, it's a bottle opener for, you know, those after paddle beers. But you should always have some kind of knife on you, because you never know what'll happen. Alright, let's go down off in the life jacket. So I have another multi-tool. Has another bottle opener on it as well. But it has little different fittings on it in case you need to work on your board or so you don't get stranded. But that's really not that important. I'm a big proponent of these Bear Grylls little, I forget what you call them. They're like little rescue pods. They have a whistle. I think they have some tape in there and a few other things. It's a really good one to have. Then the last thing, preferably the most important thing, is whistle. You should always have a safety whistle with you anytime you're on the water, because you never know what'll happen. It could turn out to save your life or someone else's life. And that's it for your safety gear. Alright, so now that we got the basics, we're going to talk about the two most important pieces of equipment. Probably the two pieces of equipment that your wife would call the most expensive pieces of equipment. Your board and your paddle. Alright, let's get closer to it. Let's take a closer look. Alright, now when it comes to your paddle, this is your first rodeo. You're just going out for your first time, seeing if you like it, just trying to get a feel for it. You don't need to go out and buy a special touring paddle or a race paddle. You just need to paddle the paddle that you're most used to and most comfortable with. So right here I got a Warner Vibe. It's a paddle I take downriver, I take it to the lake, I do all kind of stuff with it. It's a good beat around paddle, plastic blade, fiberglass shaft. I really like the Warner paddles. Alright, now onto your board. Right here I got the Soul Firestorm. It's a creek board, it's a whitewater specific board, it's a board that I take down big water stuff. That's not what we're doing today, and I'll make another video and kind of explain that. As far as your board goes, you're just getting into it like I said before. You don't want to go out and buy some super expensive 14-foot touring board. You just want to paddle what you're most used to. And if you have multiple boards, just paddle the boards you feel the most comfortable on. And if you only have one board, just paddle that board. You don't need to go out and rent boards and do all that kind of stuff. You're just going out having a good time and experiencing touring to see if you want to do it more. And if you really like it, then you could go forward and buy a better board. Maybe an 11-foot board, maybe a 12 or 14-foot board. Heck, maybe a 16-foot board. Alright, so now that we've went over the board and we went over all the other basics, let's get on the river and I'll talk to you a little bit about once you put it in and and exploring and checking everything out. Okay, so now that we looked at safety gear and we're on our way to the river, one thing you need to pay attention to is when you get to the put-in, you want to look around. You want to observe all your exit points, observe your surroundings, just be cautious and kind of get a bearing for everything. All right, now let's get on the road. Okay, so now that we're at the put-in, you see us looking around, making sure the Jeep's locked, observing all of our surroundings like I mentioned before. Alright, so now we're on the water, we're paddling around, we're observing our surroundings, we're having a good time, we're just feeling everything out, staying ever focused. So now rounding the bend, you can see we've came upon our first obstacle. We've got a downed tree in the water. And so after careful consideration, I decided that it'd be fine to go up under the tree. There was no risk of snagging or anything, so we'll just go up under it and keep going. After crossing under the second tree and some careful consideration, I decided that with the light fading and, we've already went a good little distance, it's probably about time to turn around and head back and maybe paddle out in the bigger open section of the river where we got full light and we're even closer to cars in case something happens. So now that we're passing the Jeep and we're back into the open section, we're going to paddle out to that restaurant we were looking at on Google Earth and check everything out down there. So now that we're to the restaurant, as you can tell by all the danger signs and the rope out there, that the dam is out in the distance, so we really can't go any farther. So with the light fading, I guess we're going to paddle back to the Jeep, call it a day. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed paddling with me, and I hope y'all enjoyed this new episode of On the Edge of Exploration. I didn't want to kind of discourage any of y'all from starting your first SUP adventure, but I just want to kind of encourage you and show you the safest way to do it possible. And I hope y'all have fun, and I hope y'all go on your first SUP adventure. Until next time, I see y'all again on the next episode. Stay safe out there and stay on those boards.